What's up? Adventures in Traffic, episode 8. So I'm pulling off on my way to work. It's about 7:45, 7:46 in the morning. Crack of dawn and now I'm yawning. Like the cold out my eyes. Wondering why I gotta go to work. And why? Wait, that don't make sense. Whatever. But in all seriousness, good day, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I've been enjoying these talks. It's more like I'm talking to myself, but I know somebody will watch it eventually. And some people like it, some people won't. I don't care. I'm getting used to it. I'm getting the hang of this. I noticed in a couple of my earlier videos, the sound was a little choppy. And I'll figure all of this stuff out, this broadcasting stuff at some point. So bear with me. A couple more videos. I might step up the tech, the audio visual components, maybe throw in like some cool overlays. I think that's what they call it, some overlays on the video, cool little graphics or whatever. But I've been thinking about a lot of things, as you probably already know if you've been watching any of these videos. But one thing that I want to talk about, I was watching a video with some people last night, and the guy had mentioned brainwashing, and I thought he said brandwashing. So I rewound it, and I know he said brainwashing, but he had a slight accent. But I thought about it. I never heard that term, brandwashing, and it gave me an idea. I hate when people say a lot in the video. But anyway, because this isn't scripted. It's just like all off the dome. You know what I'm saying? I'm freestyling, spitting these bars. But brandwashing, right? So think about what brands do to get your attention. The attention economy. And if you hear some rattling noise, I still have those waters in the back of my car. I took some out. I just didn't take all of them. Anyway, brand washing, right? Attention economy. I watch a lot of content creators and influencers. A lot of people of notoriety, a lot of great insight, and they always talk about content and building your brand, which I think is a great thing to bring awareness to whatever cause it is or whatever your end goal or agenda is. Because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to sell something or people want to buy something, but it's about attention, right? It's how do you get people's attention? And the one thing I noticed about social media, come on, car, come on, lady. Oh, sorry, drivers. One thing I noticed about the times that we're living in with social media is it's about attention, and some people do the wrong things for attention, and some of them don't even have a brand. They're just people, enjoying these apps, which they have every right to. I'm not judging, of course, and I'm not knocking what people do. I'm just observing. So this is my observation, articulated verbally, right? But you think about what people do for these brands. Now, example, I have known people, let's just say, the hood, right? Because I'm from the hood, and a lot of my point of reference is hood-based logic. I'm not a collegiate. I did like one semester in college, but I'm very well read. I've read a lot of different things. I still like to read. Now that I have kids, I do audiobooks more than I do actual books. Because I just don't want the little ones to get to them and write all over my books. I'm real weird about my books. It's this thing I got where I collect books in all genres. I really don't do fiction though. Anyway, I'm rambling. Brandwashing. That's what we're talking about. So I've known people from the hood who, their whole focus is a foreign car and a rollie, right? Shout out to that rapper from Philly. I got a rollie on my wrist. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Again, salute to him for his come up, because I remember way back in the day. Some people are too young to remember this, but people who watch me probably will be around my age range. But I don't know. I don't have any demographic stats yet. But I remember when this young man, it was something called DVDs for those who don't remember. But Philly kind of cornered the market in the earlier days with rap DVDs, right? Everybody in Philly raps. I used to be a rapper. I used to own a record label. Everybody in Philly raps. And at one point, not everybody had cameras. Some people had cameras, actual video cameras, before the cell phone cameras were any good. Back when they were trash, some people had video cameras, and they would go around to different neighborhoods and highlight the rappers. And Mr. Rollie on my wrist at the time was a teenager. I remember when he was young, with the nappy braids. He's even said it himself. But he came up, and part of that beginning was the early stages of the attention economy, right? Being on those DVDs is back when social media really didn't mean much. It was the end of the street team era and the beginning of the social media era. The fledgling days of Facebook and the end of the MySpace wave is when this all started. Now, one thing about the hood, we've always been flashy. Not everybody, but everybody knows somebody who is flat broke when it comes to, actual assets, right? Like, I know people to this day, grown people, still don't have a bank account. They go to the check cashing. Again, not judging, but people they don't budget, they don't save money. Everything they get, they spend it, and one of the things is material possessions, right? Money, cars, and clothes is all up nose, and you still see that a lot. I mean, if you look at the videos, I can't tell you last time I watched a rap video, but if you look at the videos and you look at now social media of some of these entertainers, it's all about affluence, right? The influence of affluence. And they're pushing brands that really don't care about them spending money. Now, they do in a sense, because they understand that hip-hop culture is the biggest form of pop culture. It's America's biggest cultural export. You look around the world, everybody wants to be a rapper. If they don't want to be a rapper, they want to act like the rappers, they want to dress like the rappers, and the rappers have to put on this persona of being rich or looking rich or exuding wealth. And I know when you look good, you feel good, but there's an entertainer. I can't call him a rapper now because he raps, he produces, he makes clothes, he makes sneakers. Some of the clothes are crazy. But back in the day, and again, I'm not saying anybody's names because I'm not giving anybody any publicity, but if you know, you know. Back in the day when he first came out, he had this song called It All Falls Down. And in it, he said a line that will stick with me forever. They made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. That's why shorty's hollering where the ball is at. Drug dealer buy Jordans, crackhead buy crack. White man get paid off for all of that. I ain't even gonna act holier than thou, cause I went to Jacob with 25,000 before I had a house, and I'd do it again. Cause I wanna be on 106 and Park pushing a Benz. I wanna act ballerific like it's all terrific. I got a couple past due bills, I won't get specific. I got a problem with spending before I get it. We all self-conscious. I'm just the first to admit it. Those are his words. Very profound, especially at the time, because he was perceived as a backpack rapper, and he later admitted recently in 2022 or late 2021 that he was just using the backpack rapper community to get his footing. And you know, we got a saying, get in where you fit in, so I ain't knocking him, but that portion of the song that I quoted is iconic because it exemplifies what goes on in the hood, the mind state, the material mind state. You know, another rapper recently, past few years, has talked about buying back the block. You know, he's talking about real estate, and he's talking about being a boss. You know what I'm talking about? Boss. He got a bunch of wing stops, restaurants. But again, he still talks about materialism, and that's really what the music is about. Materialism, debauchery, violence, and I'll do another video at some point about what I really feel about hip hop. Now I'm a little older and wiser, because when I was younger, man, listen, you couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be a professional rapper. I mean, there was times in school where I didn't even take books. I just took my rap book, because at some point in the day, I was going to get a thought or idea, and I was going to write a song about it. And I did that for probably the last 2 years of high school. I mean, I had my rap book with me 24/7 all throughout high school. But those last 2 years, I didn't carry any books but my rap book. And whenever I was hustling, and I don't mean drugs, I used to hustle everything. Candy, food, whatever. If you wanted it, I'd get it for you. Because, you know, we had school store, but you could only go during lunch. And people was hungry throughout the day. Because a lot of people, like myself, didn't eat breakfast. Some people couldn't afford it. I just didn't like to eat breakfast. I still really don't eat breakfast. But I used to hustle everything, because that is also part of the nature of the hood. It's hustling. And it don't have to be anything illegal. It's just that hustler's mentality. Shout out to another rapper. I ain't saying his name, but he had a song. I want to find the things in my life, so I hustle. You know what I'm talking about? Named after 2 Quarters. You feel me? But, you know, shout out to 2 Quarters, because he came up too. You know, he was a violent gangster rapper who talked about how many times he was shot by bullets. And, you know, he turned the tables around and started bullying the bullies. Shout out to him. But BrandWashing, you know, these artists are used, unbeknownst to themselves, by these brands to get you, the consumer, to think that if you buy these brands, you are somehow better than you were before you had them. I'm not really a big brand wearer. I got kids. I got a family. I got responsibilities. I ain't super rich. And even if I was, I don't know if I would be a big brand wearer. And I think that's a sign of wealth that you see. Now, I'm not saying wealthy people don't buy big brands. They don't buy things with names all over them. You know, they may have on a shirt or some pants. Man, my video got cut. My alarm went off. I don't know what y'all missed, but I'm going to try to chop it together. Okay, so people who are wealthy, you don't see them wearing big brands. Now, they may have expensive labels on, but you would not be able to tell by looking at them, right? They buy things of quality, but it's not gaudy. You know, they don't have names all over the chest, and you would not know if it was from Walmart or from one of these bigger stores, because that's not what wealth is about. Wealth is not about displaying what you have. Wealth is about preserving what you've made. Say it again. Wealth is not about displaying what you have. Wealth is about preserving what you've made and making your money work for you. There's a thing called depreciation. Depreciation means as soon as you purchase something, when you walk out of the store, it loses value. Now, some things have changed in recent years, like sneakers. Certain sneakers are now considered art, and they have a high resale value. I don't think that'll last forever. But for now, I know people who hustle sneakers. I knew this one guy who was making crazy bank off of sneakers. You know, he would drop a couple grand and make 2, 3, 4 times that in a matter of days, flipping sneakers. So it's a thing, you know, it's money in it. But I digress. Brand washing. There is something called consumer psychology. Consumer psychology makes you think that these brands will make you better. The reason why they called Jordans Air Jordan is because homie could dunk, and he would appear to fly through the air with that ball in his hand, which is why you have the logo. The logo is him flying through the air with a ball in his hand. But you ask somebody, the average 16-year-old, they have no idea why that logo is what it is. I mean, you could put 2 and 2 together, but they didn't live it. They didn't live through the era. They just like it because that's what you wear. Jordan, when I was younger, so fun fact, like I said, I hustled everything. When I was 11, there was a place in my neighborhood that sold what was called penny candy. It was these, they called them Fruities. It was little Tootsie Rolls, minis, in different flavors. Watermelon, cherry, all kind of fun stuff. They were delicious. But this one store, it was a laundromat, but the guy, Pee-wee, shout out to Pee-wee's, they sold candy. And you would get 100 pieces for $1. I talked to him, and he gave me 200 pieces for $1. I, in turn, would take them to school and sell them for $0.05 a pop. Essentially, turning 5 pieces of candy into $1, and I still had 195 pieces left. You do the math. First pair of Jordans I had was bought with money from selling nickel candies. Later on in life, when I became a rapper, my name was Nickels. People think it was from selling nickel bags of marijuana. It was from my penny candy days. The candy man, baby. But I learned back then when I bought these Jordans, you couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me when I had these Jordans that I wasn't the flyest man in the world or the flyest kid in the world. I never forget. It was, I don't know, I can't tell you what number they was. People are like, they was number 2. I don't know about all of that. I just know them joints was royal blue, black and white. And I was the man when I went to school. Now, I wasn't popular, but I wasn't unpopular. I was neutral. I've always been neutral. I'm just cool. You get to know me, I'm a cool guy. Not a tough guy, not a punk. I'm just me. I'm just a cool guy. But I was always hard on sneakers. And in my mind back then, those things were made of gold. I mean, if you had a pair, like I said, you was the flyest guy in the world. Well, I learned a hard lesson quickly. Those sneakers get dogged just like any other sneakers. You wear them long enough, and if you were rough on them like I was, in about 2-3 days, you're going to have your first scuff. Maybe the first day. In about 2-3 weeks, it's going to have visible wear and tear. And in about 6 weeks, it's going to look like you owned them for 2 years. That's how boys are. At least that's how I was growing up. I was hard on shoes. But that lesson taught me about all the money that I spent on those shoes and how fast they looked like any other pair of shoes that I bought. Whether it was the $20 joints, because back then, money was different, cost of living wasn't as high. Kids' shoes were not that expensive. So the little cheapy cheaps, $5. And I'm talking like the cheap joints, no names, just shoes that you beat around in. And shout out to my mom and my father for teaching me the value of money. They would buy me those shoes, and then they would also buy me the other name brand stuff. They wasn't buying Jordans though. I had to beg for a pair of Timbs. I remember when Guess was first popping. It was popular in New York. It wasn't popular in Philly. If you were not up to date on the latest fashions. So I wanted a pair of Timbs, and I got some Guess boots, and I got clowned because it had the little triangle on the side where the Timberland sign should be. And I remember going to school wearing them. I was proud of them too. And they was like, "Yo, what's that?" Those ain't Timbs. They said, "This ain't Guess." Somebody got that on the floor. This ain't Guess. And somebody said, "Guess what?" So, needless to say, my feelings was hurt because that wasn't the brand that I wanted. I thought Timberlands was where it was at. I mean, that's what it was. That's what you wore. You wore Timberlands. Now Guess boots. Now, I don't know about now. I mean, Guess is still a popular brand, but a couple years ago it was more popular than it is now. But back to the Jordans. I found out that they got just as beat up as any other shoe, and I never bought a pair of Jordans again because I understood that this is hard-earned money. And for one, hard-earned money. For two, I don't play basketball. So these are basketball shoes. I am a scholar. I don't play ball, so I don't need basketball shoes. I felt it was pointless at that point. But I still had to have the experience, right? But when I was in my heyday, late teens, early 20s, I was making money. I was hustling. I had jobs. At one point, I had like 3-4 jobs, and I was hustling. So I've always been able to support myself and provide for myself, but selfishly, right? Because when you're young, while I knew the value of money, I knew what things cost. I knew what it meant to work and earn it yourself, but the saving aspect was not there. But that happens with a lot of people who are not taught financial literacy, right? But for me, during those times when I was out there able to buy what I want, it was Air Force Ones, Timbs, Timberlands, and Shell to Adidas. That was my thing. And then, throw in some New Balances, the suede joints, gotta be suede. Some suede New Balances. And I like Diodoras. Diodoras was dope. I had a couple Diodoras. Had some ACGs. I mean, I had a crazy sneaker collection. And then, my next lesson, I had a pit bull. This was my first time as an adult owning a puppy. I had dogs all my life, but it was always, my parents would get them. My mom primarily. My dad didn't want them because he knew I wouldn't take care of it, and he definitely wasn't going to take care of it. He worked. But, they tried to teach me responsibility, and I got this pit bull puppy when I was probably like 18, 19. And I was going to school at the time for my current trade. If you know what that is, you saw the previous video, but whatever the case. I was going to school for my current trade, and I didn't know that dogs' teeth, just like babies, like human babies, they need to chew. So I was staying in my mom's basement, I'll never forget, and the basement was fly. I had surround sound, I had the walls painted, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air style. Oh, it was dope. Everybody who knew me back then knew the basement was popping, and I used to watch the basement with Big Tigger. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say nobody's name. Whatever. Rap City, the basement, that's iconic. Especially when you're a rapper. We watched the whole show just to wait to see him get in the booth, because back then there was no streaming. You couldn't fast forward. If I could have, I probably would have fast forward to see the booth. But the basement was dope. So I went to school one day. I had the cedar closet in the basement. It was big walk-in cedar closet. And it had all my shoes lined up. Some of them still in the boxes, some of them not. But I go to school one day, I'm brushing out the house, and I didn't keep the dog in the cage. I just kept him in the basement. Knowing now knowing what I know, I should have bought a cage. But I kept him in the basement. When I came home, all my shoes, but one pair, had either the soles ripped off or their tongues torn out. And that was a lesson learned, because I couldn't get that money back. I mean, what you gonna do? Dog chewed up all of my shoes. All of them, except for one pair. Well, two. The ones I had on my feet and one that he couldn't get to. I think they were like up on a shelf or something. But I just remember going from about 40 pairs, 30, 40 pairs of sneakers, name brand sneakers too, down to 2 in a day. That was an incredible loss for me, because back then it was jerseys, it was New Era caps, and it was sneakers, and you had to match. Everything had to coordinate, you know. Shout out to the rapper that said, I'm sort of late, but my time and my clothes gotta coordinate. You had to coordinate, man. And that was another loss for me that made me realize these brands don't matter. Brands don't matter. But brands work hard to get your attention and keep your attention. And that's the name of the game. Attention. The attention economy through brand washing, or brand washing through the attention economy. Now, I haven't heard anybody say this. So if you hear somebody say the term brand washing, make 100% sure that they give me my flowers. Brand washing. Pay attention to what's going on these social media streets and with these entertainers and out in the world. You're going to see you want a certain brand because somebody you like is wearing it. It's called product placement first, behavioral placement second. This is all psychological terms. Product placement, behavioral placement. It's consumer psychology. When you consume content, there is product placement in movies and TV and films and music videos. That's what they want. This car is all on my tail. I'm gonna slow down because you're driving like a dummy. But when you consume content, there is product placement. People and brands sometimes pay these influencers to get you to have your eyes on their brand, because it will make you want it. I'm all in the sun. It's messing up my brown. Let me back this up a little bit. Let me see. Is that better? No better. All right, y'all got to deal with it. Nope, no better. All right, let me end this quickly. After product placement is behavioral placement.